Hey guys, I'm just gonna make a daily video for this week, and it's also for next week for Thanksgiving. I'm gonna tell you why. Their assignment that I assigned today, and for some of you on Monday, if you looked at the due date, and some of you were like, "Is this right? Is this due date right?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm giving you guys 2 weeks to do this Edgenuity assignment that I just assigned today for some of you on Monday. So let's look at this objective here. The students will plan a narrative with a logical sequence of events, develop the point of view of an essay through dialogue, revise writing to add description, and write a narrative essay about overcoming a challenge. So this is a writing assignment on Edgenuity. Okay, so this isn't like you're not answering questions, you're not reading a story, you're not answering multiple choice questions, you are writing. This is a summative grade, which is why I'm giving you 2 weeks because there's multiple different levels. Do not procrastinate on this assignment. If you wait for this assignment to do it on Sunday night of Thanksgiving break, you're going to fail because there are 3 separate writing portions to this. And I'm going to go over that with you. So you do have guided notes. I suggest doing your guided notes by like in class today. Just getting it done. You guys know that on Edgenuity you can stop in the middle. You don't have to complete the assignment in total at one time. And I suggest you start now because, like I said, there are 3 different portions to this writing assignment, and you're not gonna have time to finish it if you wait till the last second. So guided notes again are a practice grade. Your personal narrative pre-write and draft are a quiz grade. So you just basically have to do them, and it's like a free 100. And then your personal narrative final, that is a summative grade. That's an exam grade. So important announcements. Let's look at that real quick. I am making an optional journal 5, a week 5 journal entry. It's optional. It's extra credit. If you have received a 0 on a practice assignment in the past, then I'll replace it. But you can't like decide not to do a practice assignment like right now. I'm not going to replace, like, let's say you decide, oh, well, that means that I don't have to do my guided notes for this week because I can just replace it with this journal entry. No, that's not true. You still have to do your guided notes. I'm looking at work that you've done in the past that you haven't done. So like in the last 3 weeks, if you haven't done something from the last 3 weeks, then I can replace it with this journal entry. Also, if you have all of your practice grades turned in and you still want to get extra credit, I will add 5 points to your lowest summative grade or your quiz grade. I'll see where it fits in there. So yeah, we'll see what we can do with that, okay? Edgenuity personal narrative due for A day, it's Monday. For B day, it's next Tuesday, just because I assigned them on different days. So let's look at what I'm going to walk you through very quickly what I'm looking for in a pre-write, what I'm looking for in a draft, and what I'm looking for in a final draft. So I do just want to go ahead and add an extra slide here about your let's see. I'm going to make this right in front of you. Right in front of you. So I just want something to type on so you can see these notes. I've had people ask me how long it should be. What does it say in Edgenuity? I honestly, I want a minimum of 3 paragraphs. Yeah, I'm spelling everything wrong this morning. Minimum of 3 paragraphs, and each paragraph should be at least minimum 5 sentences per paragraph. So these are the requirements for me for your essay. And I don't like calling it an essay. It's actually a personal narrative. Edgenuity, they're calling it a narrative essay. I'm calling it a personal narrative. I actually looked at the lectures on there. They're pretty good. They go over everything you need to know about writing a narrative essay. It's a narrative, so it tells a story. So people see the word essay and they freak out. They're like, oh my God, I have to write an essay. Well, you're writing in first person and you're telling me about your life. So it's basically you're writing me a quick personal narrative. So what's the difference between like a personal narrative and a biography? This is going to be over one thing that happened in your life. I don't want from when you were born until right now. I don't want that. I need one event. You need to pick one event. So let's look at pre-writing. When you are pre-writing, this is a grade. This is what I want your pre-writing page to look like. I want you to break it down between the beginning, the middle, and the end. And pre-writing is not supposed to actually be your story. It can be a bulleted list, just like this. So here's what I did when I was planning how to write mine. Ideas of times that I've overcome a challenge, because that's your prompt. And I just simply made a really quick bulleted list of things I can remember that stand out in my mind, that I thought I could write a story about. When I broke my finger, winning an international soccer tournament, getting an A in biology, that was a challenge for me. Making varsity soccer, moving to a new city, having my first child, teaching after surgery, and dealing with COVID after having my son. So after all of this is said and done, I decided to go with this, but this is like a brainstorm. So this is evidence of brainstorm. So in your pre-writing, I need to see evidence of brainstorming by seeing a bulleted list of some sort. It can be, I don't care how you write it, but your pre-writing needs to be just like a brain dump of things that you've thought of. That is how you complete a pre-writing. It's not supposed to be the story itself. It's just a brain dump of ideas. Then I broke it up into 3 sections: beginning, middle, and end. Beginning, of course, being the exposition. The middle is the rising action and the climax, and the falling action, resolution, and theme. So what makes this an essay? What makes this an essay is that I am A, writing about a prompt, but B, I'm also explaining a topic. I'm like telling you a time that I've done this. It's almost informational because I'm using my story as an example, but I'm telling you how I overcame a challenge. So it's kind of informational. So it's kind of an essay and it's also a narrative. Okay, so you're using a story, you're telling a story about one event that happened in your life. I'm going to write about dealing with COVID after having my son. And I'm just going to take that out. I don't really go into much detail it's a very quick overview, okay? I'm not going to write you like every detail. I'm only going to tell you the main idea. And the reason why is because I'm focusing on this overcoming a challenge part. So I have to identify what the challenging part of this was. Well, it's like not only was I having my first child, but it was during like quarantine and the height of quarantine. So that was very difficult and that was a challenge for me. And then I had to think about like all the stuff that I used to deal with that. So in the middle rising action, I'm going to talk about how I learned I was pregnant, the idea of what I thought it would be like, and then after it happened, what it was really like. And that was like dealing with the challenge of being alone and ultimately like becoming depressed. So my challenge is going to be like an inner conflict. It's an inner challenge that I had to overcome. Again, I'm making bulleted lists here and I'm just mapping out in my pre-writing where I'm going to go with that. The end is falling action, resolution, and theme, which is ultimately what I learned. So here's what I did. I adapted by reading, working out, and focusing on my new job as a parent, and I gave myself breaks. My theme that I learned through this challenge of like overcoming this challenge was I had to be adaptable. There are things in life that we don't have control over. The key is to not let what you can't control consume your life. The key is that we must be able to adapt and accept our situation in order to move forward. So that's just what I learned from overcoming this challenge. And that's what pre-writing looks like, just this page. A list of ideas and just mapping out where you want to go. Okay, so you can copy this exactly and just fill in the blanks on your pre-writing and Edgenuity. Your draft in Edgenuity. My draft is two pages, roughly 2 pages long. And I just wrote this down quickly, and it's not perfect, and drafts are not supposed to be perfect. Drafts are just a first draft. It's just a practice. Your draft, your draft is like literally, did you write a minimum of 3 paragraphs of 5 sentences per paragraph? Did you do that? That's your draft. And if you did that, it's 100. So this is me telling my story. Now, what I'm going to do here is this is what my draft looks like. What I'm going to do is show you what the final should be like. So I'm going to actually edit my draft in front of you so you see what I'm looking for and you see how to edit your own. You should just start reading and fixing it. If you want to work on this on a Google Doc first and then copy and paste it into the little submission box for Edgenuity, I highly suggest that so you don't lose your work. So open up a Google Doc, work this stuff out, and right now I'm going to show you, I've completed my pre-writing, I've completed my draft. Here's my draft in front of me, and I'm going to edit this to make it my final. And this is going to be my final thing. Okay, so here's my final story. We waited until we were 30. We had always known that we wanted to have children together, but it was the fear of the unknown that held us back. It was the summer of 2019. It was the summer of 2019 that we decided to just bite the bullet. I learned the first week of September that I was pregnant. I was barely in the first month of school and all of a sudden I almost fainted. Ms. Sheehan, can you watch my class for me? I don't feel good. I need to sit down in the teacher's lounge and get a donut. I don't like that sentence. It's like roughly the idea of like what I said. I need to sit down in the teacher's lounge. I'm just going to leave it at that. I feel like the donut part, although I did eat a donut that day. I'm just going to leave it like that. And I'm going to put a comma, then a quotation mark, and then the rest of my sentence. That is how you punctuate. Thank God someone brought donuts to work that day because I found out later that the reason why I was having fainting spells was that my thyroid was very high and my blood sugar was very low. A dangerous combination that requires someone to have some form of nutrients in them at all times. Do I like that? Is it, does it belong there? I'm actually going to take that out because I don't think that it really applies to the story. It's like information, but it's not. I'm going to take that out. That very weekend, I found out I was pregnant. Some people have grand parties to reveal a pregnancy. Some even do cute little riddles for their partner. I simply just walked out of the bathroom and told my husband, well, we're pregnant. That was that. And then we made popcorn and watched a movie. We didn't tell anyone until I was around 10 weeks. I used to daydream about how life would be once Oliver was born. Who would be there with me? The weather on the day he was born. How my life would change. What I didn't know is that in March of 2020, I'm going to change this to the... When it's not a date and you have a numeric, like a number, you need to actually write out the number if it's under 10. So I'm going to put 2. 2 months before Oliver was born, that would all change. Headlines read, H-E-B struggling to stock shelves. China is in total lockdown. Trump bans international travel. Then we got the emails. Spring break extended. Then no school this is a title. No school the rest of the year. And finally, the government issued a stay-at-home order. What did this mean for me? Oliver came into the world on April 29th. No one was allowed in the hospital with me except my husband. That was fine and all, but I had always imagined my mother there with me in the room, holding my hand, but she wasn't. She was exactly 1,355 miles away. What happened after that was a blur. I was alone most of the time, as this was the height of the hysteria in quarantine. No one was allowed over. I became very depressed. I wasn't getting any sleep, and I wasn't getting any sleep. I'm going to actually make that one sentence, comma, and I knew that I had to change, but I felt stuck. I was still dealing with the fact that my mother could not be there to help me. It felt like COVID had robbed me of this special moment almost. I feel like COVID had robbed me of this special moment. This moment that is, I missed the rite of passage. I missed the rite of passage. Yeah, I missed the rite of passage. That sounds better. You see how I'm just reading this out loud to myself and then I'm going through, and if it doesn't sound right, I'm just playing around with the words. That's how you edit. You have to read it out loud though. If you don't read it out loud, it's really hard to do. I missed the rite of passage that most women experience while having a child. It got very bad. It got so bad. Yeah. That some days I was unable to get out of bed. My husband spoke with me one day pleading for me to get better. It was almost like a light switch. I felt the surge of energy in my body. I was having one of my depressive episodes and all of a sudden I snapped out of it. What am I doing? I thought to myself. This isn't who I am. Oh, quote. This isn't who I am. I have a job to do. I'm now a mother and I need to get myself better so I can do right by my son. That night, I made a promise to myself that I wasn't going to let this happen any longer. And if I ever felt that feeling creeping up inside me again, that I would tell it to go away. I would banish it from my mind and keep on going. It took practice, I'm not going to lie. However, I preoccupied myself with daily tasks, built-in rest times, as well as built-in rest and daily task. I'm going to make this one sentence, and built-in rest times. I took time to myself. I started to walk Oliver in the afternoons when the air was cool. I think that doesn't sound good. In the afternoons when it had cooled down. And I read the first Game of Thrones novel. No, I read the first game. So let's start over. I started to walk Oliver in the afternoons when it had cooled down. I read the first Game of Thrones novel, and most importantly, I focused on my cute little chubby baby. Depression is no joke. Postpartum depression is no joke. Having postpartum depression during a pandemic was a triple whammy, but I made it through. I think the reason why I was able to push through this is that through my years, I've learned that being adaptable is what makes someone a survivor. You see, all right, so this is obviously like the end. I'm in the following action part of this. And I'm going into what I learned. So what makes this an essay is, yes, I'm using an example to like tell you about a time that I have overcome a challenge, but I'm also explaining to you how to overcome a challenge. I'm telling you how to do it. And so my last half of my the left half of my essay, the last quarter of it, I'm sorry, this is what you should do too. It should be like what you learned from the situation. So I'm telling you the challenge that I faced, and I'm telling you what I learned. And that is how you end this. So everyone needs to do this. Here you go. Depression is no joke. Postpartum depression is no joke. Having postpartum depression during a pandemic was a triple whammy. But I made it through. I think the reason why I was able to push through is that through my years, I have learned that being adaptable is what makes someone a survivor. You see, we must accept that life is challenging. We must accept that things are not always going to be the way we plan them to be. Man, I really learned that this last year's, this has been such a learning experience for me, and I'm sure for everybody. Like the things that we've planned on doing with our lives this year, it is not what happened with them. We had to improvise. We had to make up emergency plans on the fly. We had to learn how to be alone. So, I mean, that's something you can write about too. Actually, you should really count on things you should really count on things to go the exact opposite. Anticipate that life is not going to be easy. Once we do that, we can adapt to what we cannot change. I cannot change the pandemic. I cannot change that my mom is not able to be with me, but I can change how I deal with it. I'm happy to say that I'm taking care of myself and very much enjoying motherhood. These times are crazy, but at the same time, it has also been the best time of my life in a strange way. All right, that's it. I hope that was, and that's my final draft. I probably could do better. There were some opportunities I saw to go back and add some imagery, especially talking about like the summer air when it cooled down. But let's see if I could find that to show you what I could do there. I preoccupied myself with daily tasks, built-in rest times. I took time to myself, for myself. I started to walk Oliver in the afternoons. So when it had cooled down, this is an opportunity to use and appeal to the five senses of imagery. I started to walk Oliver in the afternoons when the hot, sweltering summer air turned to a cool breeze. Whoa. So there's some imagery. I started to walk Oliver in the afternoons when the hot, sweltering summer air turned to a cool breeze. Taking this, I started to walk Oliver in the afternoons when hey, go back to the original. I started to walk Oliver in the afternoons when it had cooled down, and then I'm changing that to I started to walk Oliver in the afternoons when the hot, sweltering summer air turned to a cool breeze, right? So taking these opportunities where you can add some imagery is what's really going to take your narrative essay up to the next level. That's it. And then you submit this through Edgenuity. There's like a little box. So I need the pre-writing, which is a bulleted list of things you want to talk about, and then your plan. Then you have your first draft, and then go back and edit that draft, and that's going to be your final. That is due after Thanksgiving. I'm giving you Thanksgiving to work on this. Do not wait to the last moment to do this. It's not going to work. You need to start, and if you want to, you can start on this on a Google Doc, like I said, and just work on it and then submit it at the end. That works too. Okay, so if you have any questions, I want you guys to please get in touch with me. And I'm here whenever you need me, okay? Send me an email. And you can also text that number. There's a number that's posted on my classroom resources like icon. You can text that number, and if you don't want to email me, I respond to text messages as well. All right, talk to you guys later. Bye.